Hey, so I'm Tony Williams. I'm CEO of the Federal City Council. I'm the designated tie wearer in D.C. today. And welcome to this re-envisioning of downtown. Want to thank our sponsors, Golden Triangle bid, Leona, thank you. The downtown bid, Jaron. Give them a big hand for the hard work that they have put in to bring us here together. Thank the Federal City Council team, and special thanks to Andrew Trueblood, who also played a critical role in coordinating all of this. So thank all of you. Now, I've been asked to request that all of you who are over here on my left, could you please make your way in toward the back? We've got plenty of space toward the back, except for you, Councilman. Please remain up here. So I got a note today from one of the trustees of the Federal City Council. $800 billion of investment, real estate investment lost in the world's great cities from telecommuting. Now, a lot of people I've talked to say, well, they're surprised the figure's so low. Cities have faced their trials and tribulations. Cities across the world over time, in-migration, out-migration, racial distancing, famine. Well, we have faced a huge epical challenge over the last couple of years with COVID and now the advent of telecommuting. We've decided it's really important not only to build on the mayor's downtown action plan, but really put our minds together, and we've got people from around the country to do that, put our minds together on how, in the context of better public safety, a competitive economic environment, the right kind of public investments, we can really reimagine our downtown. And so I'm going to ask, and I guess you have to come up here to the microphone. First of all, I'm going to ask Leona and Jaron to share with us the big takeaways you'd like to see from the conference today. Come on up to the microphone. Come on up.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mayor Williams. For me, I think the biggest takeaway for today would be that we all commit as a group to a deep commitment to this. Our scope is not only to reimagine downtown, but also to identify the most feasible and highest impact projects, and then to lay out a plan to make them happen. And, you know, today's the fun part, right? Reimagining, coming up with the big ideas, and then the hard work really starts, which is to make it happen. And I did say a minute ago that we are two bids. We are very powerful for our size. We really like to leverage our partners, but ultimately we are small, and we will depend on all of you, your networks, your strengths, your knowledge, and your influence to make these things happen in the long term. And this is a good 10, 20, 30-year agenda that we are laying out here.
Thank you for that, Leona. I would only really echo to say, when I think about what is one thing that we want to see happen from today's workshop, today's session, this opportunity to think about the future, you know, in so many ways, none of this happens without collaboration. None of this happens without partnership. None of this happens without having a big tent and a broad array of partners across different disciplines, different industries, different sectors, and you all represent that. And so what we want to make sure happens in this space is to know that this is a space for big ideas. We value your thinking. We want to know what it is that you think can really help to take our downtown to a new level. We have some national guests who are here, folks with perspectives from other cities. I know Detroit is represented here. We have Chicago. I'm going to miss some of the other cities, so forgive me for starting to go down that path. But we have folks who are bringing perspective from other places around the country. And we want you to have your voice heard and to be elevated, and we want to make sure that we're all taking a time out to really use this time to take advantage of the space for free thinking, for idea sharing. There's no bad idea. There's nothing too small, nothing too big. This is a free space, a safe space for us to really get big, bold, visionary ideas out there, because we want to make sure we begin to document those, and then we'll engage in the next steps of this, as Leona said, which is how we make that happen. How much will it cost? What's the fiscal impact? What's the timeline for implementation? All of that will come, but today, this is the day for big picture, big vision, big thinking, and I'm so excited that we have the folks in this room to make that happen.
Thank you, Jerry. And we also have in the House the chairman of the Economic Development Committee on the District Council. And speaking of the District Council, please give a warm welcome to Matt Furman from Ward 3 on the District Council. He's in the House. But now, Councilman at Large and the chairman of Economic Development Committee, please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor Williams. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you, Mayor Williams, and thank you to Mayor Bowser and Golden Triangle Bid and Downtown DC Bid for convening this extraordinarily important discussion today. I want to recognize not only my colleague and friend Matt Fruman, but all the hard work that Ward 2 Councilmember Brooke Pinto has been putting in to help us make sure that we are supporting our downtown and building it out and doing everything we need to do to make sure we have a comeback. I want to recognize Deputy Mayor for Economic Development, Keith Anderson, who's also here. Let's give Keith a round of applause. And all the other agency officials who are working hard night and day to make sure that we're supporting our downtown recovery. This is, to me, really an opportunity. I look across the room and see a lot of familiar faces. I see some not so familiar faces, but I think we've got the right people in the room to really put ideas on the table that are going to help us reimagine what downtown looks like. And I think everybody has had an opportunity to take a stock of what the problems are. And so we don't have to rehash what the impact of remote work has been on our downtown. We know what it looks like. We know the challenges we face with the federal government taking a while to come back. But we're starting to see people come back to work. We're starting to see more energy downtown. I'm definitely starting to see more traffic downtown. I don't know about you. But the reality is we still have some ways to go, and it's going to really take this cross-sector collaboration to make it happen. You've got willing partners at the Council of the District of Columbia. As Mayor Williams said, I chair the Committee on Business and Economic Development. We've already started to take steps working with the mayor and my colleagues to do things to support, downtown office to conversion for residential. But we also know that that's just one tool in our toolkit. We want to use these opportunities to expand the tools in the toolkit. And I'm excited about what today means. And more exciting is what we do after today. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you, Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Councilman McDuffie, and thank you for your leadership. And in addition to Deputy Mayor Lindsay Parker, Deputy Mayor Paul Klein for Education, we also have our Deputy Mayors you heard for Economic Development and Planning. So, Keith, come up and share your expectations for the visit with us. We were going to have more of a conversation, but we kind of have the microphone's right here, and I can't really move the podium around. So, come on over.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, a pleasure to be with you in person downtown DC. And I'd like to thank everyone for organizing this event. Really important. But I'm really looking for, I think Jaron and Leona said it best, bold ideas, big ideas, best practices, collaboration. We have a lot of work to do, ladies and gentlemen, to get our downtown, to get our city thriving again. Being a native Washingtonian, one thing that keeps me up at night is I remember what downtown used to look like when I was in elementary school. I remember it was empty blocks, no vibrancy, no restaurants, no sports, just nothing. As a matter of fact, it was a place that you vacated from at 5 o'clock. We're on the path to that return. We cannot do that. Our vacancy rates are 46%, which is the highest since 1993. So I know and I'm confident that we have the right people in the room to get us back on track, to ensure that our city remains thriving, a place where people want to live, work, and play, and making sure that we maintain sustainability. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out, for taking the time to help us through this process. We cannot do it alone. We need your help. So thank you so much.
So we've got correspondents from all over the country here. I'm very pleased. We have, for example, in addition to local folks like Crispus Gordon from Monumental Sports and Josh Gilbert from Post Brothers, we've got Eric Larson, for example, from Downtown Detroit Partnership, Maurice Cox from Chicago Department of Planning, Tony Griffin, formerly of DC, Office of Planning, great Tony Griffin, all the way from Harvard University. We got Prima Gupta from Center City, Philadelphia, a great city. Tim Tompkins from Shared Space Times Square in New York, Brian Sweat from Arup, and Joe Wundrium from San Francisco. So let me ask a couple of our folks from out of town to share their perspectives. So let me start with you, Prima, from Philly. Share your perspectives. Yeah, come on up to the microphone, share your perspectives. You're facing challenges like this in Philadelphia. Talk about what you expect to see here.
Sure, happy to. Thank you all for having us from Philadelphia. By now, everyone's heard of the urban doom loop, right? Tracy's nodding. Oh, sure. I'm told to go to the podium. So our response to all of the chatter of the urban doom loop is, okay, doomer, we are, I think among the most important things we can do is not let these narratives calcify. There are a lot of really smart people out there giving a lot of oxygen to the death and the decline of the downtown. And we are out there every day in our parks, on our transit systems, in our office lobbies, and in our cafes, and we're seeing what's actually happened. And it might not be as doom and gloom as what seems to be in the press. I took the train down from Philadelphia this morning, and I was looking at this new McKinsey study that came out this morning, and I'm sure somebody in this room works at McKinsey, and I'm sorry in advance, but just the way it was talking about like what was happening. Residents have left the urban core. You know, I've got a friend here from Post Brothers in Philadelphia. How many new units have you all put online in Philadelphia since the beginning of the pandemic in the core? Over 2,000, and that, pardon? 90% lease. People are spending less in urban stores than they were before. Well, we're at 97% of taxable retail sales compared to 2019 in Philadelphia. Office attendance has not plateaued. It has not plateaued in Philadelphia. We are seeing our largest private employer, Comcast, encourage their people to go from 3 days a week in the office to 4 days a week. And don't get me started about the national narrative on crime compared to what's actually happening in Center City. So I guess my ask of all of you is to just really look closely at your data, what's available to you. We use a lot of Placer data, which I'm sure some folks hear, and it may hear as well, and I'm sure it may tell a really different story than what's on the nightly news and what's going on lately. We also, the granular stuff I think is really important too. We survey every storefront in Center City, Philadelphia. And while we were at 89% occupancy before the pandemic, we were at 55% occupancy during the summer of 2020. We're now at 83%. And we're looking at, that's only increasing. So I guess my thought is just, leave you with that. Stay close to the data and don't let these negative narratives calcify and become our fates.
Thank you, Prima. I'm also pleased that we're joined by the biggest presence, the biggest employer in Washington, D.C. is the federal government. I'm very pleased that we have representing the Biden administration, the Deputy Director of OMB for Management, and that would be Jason Miller. He knows Washington, D.C., he knows the DMV, having been the founding Executive Director of the Greater Washington Partnership. Please give a warm welcome to Jason Miller. Jason, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's fantastic to be here. It's fantastic to see so many familiar faces. Mayor Bowser, good to see you. I just want to talk a little bit about the journey the federal government's been on as an employer. First, throughout the pandemic, the federal government had to answer more, right? We had to deal with the pandemic. We had to deal with historic trillions of dollars of relief to deal with the economic recovery. We're making historic investments across the United States, including in this region. We are, of course, conducting the ongoing business of government. And if you actually look at the federal government's performance through its hardest period, at least in our lifetimes, I think it outperformed expectations in a significant way. The role of the United States government as an employer is significant across the country and is incredibly significant in this region. We're the largest employer in the United States. We have more than 4 million federal workers across the United States. We're the largest employer in this region. We're the largest employer in the District of Columbia, and we take that responsibility seriously, both here and everywhere. We have about 13% of our workforce in the National Capital Region, about 6 to 7% of our workforce in the District of Columbia. So the things we do here are the things we have to do across the country. We've been going through transition like other employers, and navigating that transition has not been easy. When I took on this role at the beginning of 2021, we did not have a forecast for what the pandemic was going to look like. I did not think I would spend as many minutes as I have in navigating as an employer with federal agencies through the challenges of the pandemic. And one of the things we have tried to do is demonstrate a model for other employers. In 2021, the Chamber of Commerce, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, asked me to participate because they wanted to see other employers to see how the federal government was thinking about health and safety of its workforce. And some of the things we were employing, including the vaccination requirement we put in place for federal workers in late 2021. We saved tens of thousands of lives of federal workers and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, across the country through the work we did on vaccination. And part of that was demonstrating that as an employer. Right now, we're going through the transition that many other employers are going to, and bringing people back into the office and pushing our federal agencies to do that. And that is not an easy thing to do for any employer. It's a particularly hard thing to do for the federal government with the breadth of work that we do. We have more office workers concentrated in DC than we do as a share of our workforce overall. And I think you have seen, and hopefully you will continue to see, announcements by agency after agency of increasing the amount of in-person work. Of course, that has an economic impact on the downtown core. It has an economic impact all the places we have a high concentration of employers. But first and foremost, it's critical for our health as an employer. And that's what we're stressing with our agencies, is getting that balance right. We were a more flexible employer than the market overall prior to the pandemic. We have to be a competitive employer going forward. It is not easy to hire into the federal government. But having skills and capabilities in our federal workforce to deliver for the American people is absolutely critical, and we need to have healthy organizations as we onboard new employees. As we think about creativity and spontaneity and innovation in the workforce, we're facing the same challenges that other big employers are facing, and our federal agencies are working through that. I expect you will see this month, next month, September, October, an increasing presence of federal workforce in the District of Columbia, in their offices in the National Capital Region. We're going to work through that together. I know and I expect that will have a spillover impact on policies that other employers have in this region. I know the impacts that it has on businesses in the downtown. I know very granularly the impact it has on our transportation system. So we, the Biden administration, the Office of Management and Budget, all of the federal agencies, we know the seriousness and the impact that we have as an employer and look forward to continuing to be a partner. I personally know the impact on this region and care deeply about it, and I want you to consider me your partner as this effort and moves forward, and we're excited about this gathering. Thank the mayor, thank Tony for just the leadership that you are doing, that this city is doing and bringing people together. So thank you for having me here.
So as you heard, the mayor is in the house. Thank the mayor for her work in public safety. Thank the mayor for her work in leading the charge on the needed public investments in education for our children, on all the good things that we need to have a solid, meaningful conversation here. The mayor has been in the lead. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Muriel Bowser is here. We love you, Mayor.
Good to see you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Well, aren't we in a lovely space? I am pleased to be here, and I want to thank Mayor Tony Williams for his continued leadership on all things that make D.C. a thriving world capital. I want to thank all the members of my team who are here. I see Deputy Mayor Pia, Deputy Mayor Anderson. I just saw, there he is, Deputy Mayor Anderson. Anita Kozart. Where's my team? Where are you guys? All right. Thank you. Thank you for all the hard work that you are doing each and every day to ensure that the policies that we are putting together ensure the district's vibrancy. I note our council members who are here, at-large council member Kenya McDuffie for economic development, and Ward 3 council member Matt Fruman. Give them a round of applause. We are grateful to the Federal City Council in partnership with the Downtown DC bid and the Golden Triangle bid for your leadership. I asked them to be our partner to develop the plans that we are not only talking to our private sector partners about, but our partners on the council to ensure that the investments that we need to make are being made. It's always great to see Jason Miller, especially today, as we talk about bringing our workers back to the downtown. If you're interested in seeing our workers at work in the downtown, please give us a round of applause. Woo! I know I am. Every time I think about Joe Biden, who got on a train every day to come to work in Washington, D.C. and go back to Delaware, I know he thinks like I think. That the work of the federal government is here in Washington, D.C. People working shoulder to shoulder, coming up with ideas, leaning into the work that makes our country a leader in the world, us the most innovative and creative, and a place where people can come and grow their careers. And that's the type of employer that we are in the District of Columbia as well. I'm very proud of our 37,000 employees who were on the front line during a pandemic, deploying a lot of those great federal resources that kept our businesses hanging on and our people employed. We're very proud of them. We're also proud of how they responded to our return to the office plan 2 years ago, and how most of them, 40% of them, never teleworked because they're on the front line. And the office workers who did enjoy more flexibility, but they also recognize that their jobs are in person at the office. And I'm also grateful to share this fact. We had an employee a hiring fair yesterday. 3,000 people came because they recognize that the District of Columbia is a choice employer. We have fair benefits, great pay, and they also recognize that they have to serve DC residents in person. So you can be a competitive employer and be in person. I just want to be clear about that. And some of those employees are coming to us from the federal government. Because they want to work on exciting projects that are transforming lives right here in DC, and we're grateful for that. So it was our decision to take a chance and be a leader, to be a leader of employers in DC, to come back, to be aggressive about our comeback plan, and to make sure that we're available to work with our fellow employers. And we have some great examples, don't we, Mayor? We're just with Brown Advisory. A big law firm is going into the old Metro building. Boston Consulting moved their headquarters, don't tell them in Maryland, from Maryland to downtown Washington, D.C. And we want to continue to be aggressive about it. I'm grateful to the members of the council who supported, and Sandy, you'll like this, some big initiatives that allowed us to remain competitive, like our Vitality Fund. Heard a speaker from Philadelphia earlier, right? Some of, these other cities, they want our companies. And we have to have a toolbox, a big toolbox. And it has to be flexible, so that when we're talking to employers that want to be in the best city in the world, we can help them with the economics of their decision. We're also grateful that the council has been very supportive, and I want to thank you, Kenyon, especially for your leadership on this, because some of these initiatives aren't easy. They aren't easy policy decisions. They're going to require us to do some things differently. They're going to require us to not try to have every policy goal met in every program. And that's what Housing in Downtown has done for DC. It's going to allow us to change that mix of uses in the downtown. Because while we will, federal government workers will come back to DC, but they won't come back in the same number because the way of work has changed. We know that. We don't expect to go back to 2019. So we have to replace those people with other people, people who live here, more people who visit here, more people who come to events here. The government has even gotten involved in promoting concerts and all of the things that will support a vibrant downtown, and we're going to continue to do that. There are other policy decisions that we will make too that will ensure that we have a robust comeback, and that's making sure that we're a safe city, making sure that we are a resilient city, and making sure we continue to be very focused on public education and amenities and public transportation. We are proud of the infrastructure that we have built in Washington, D.C. And I am very, very confident in the process that we're putting in place that sends the signal to people who want to be here that we're going to be your willing partner, but also challenges us to think differently about our space and think differently about our programs and initiatives. And I, for one, am very excited to get to work. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. We love you. Now, before we go to the actual workshops, I want to take this moment to thank all of our sponsors for their support. This would not be happening, but for them, the people who invested in this program, we really appreciate it, particularly Tishman, who gave us this space today. So please give them a round of applause and thank our sponsors.